Hello and welcome, Spill the Tea, Wilton Manors. I'm here at the Pride Center. Special thanks to Robert Boo, who has allowed us to interview here. And I have a very special guest, Patrick Cuccaro. Cuccaro, thank you. I'm here with Patrick Cuccaro, who's agreed to meet with us. Patrick, thank you so much for meeting with me. And I would love to ask you a few questions about Wilton Manors and our community. I know that you are involved in a bunch of different things in the community, and I'm very interested in the things that you've posted on Facebook, and I'm really honored and grateful for you to meet with me. So I would love to chat with you a bit about Wilton Manors and the community. So let me ask you, tell me a little bit about where you're from and how did you end up in Wilton Manors, okay?
Well, it's a fun adventure, actually. I was born in Jersey City. My parents lived there after my father left the Army in World War II, and my mom was from Oklahoma. So my mother was from Oklahoma, and she didn't like New Jersey, so they moved us all back to Oklahoma. I grew up in Muskogee, Oklahoma. There's a funny little song about that called Okie from Muskogee. I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee. We don't smoke marijuana in Muskogee. No, we didn't. As a matter of fact, in junior high school, I started dropping acid, so we didn't do pot until much later. I was afraid it would interfere with my head. Muskogee was not a great place to be gay and growing up, and I knew early on that I was not going to run the straight and narrow, and so I got out as quickly as I could, which was college. I did 1 year in Illinois, and then I moved to Atlanta with a lover at the time. That didn't last very long, but Atlanta did. I stayed in Atlanta until 6 years ago when my husband and I moved here to Wilton Manors. We bought a home in Wilton Manors, and we're happy homeowners. I met Archie, my husband, in Atlanta. We were in our 20s. We've been together 45 years now. And this is a good place for us to be, Wilton Manors. I don't like being in places where I'm the exception. I don't care how much I'm accepted. I like being in places where I feel empowered, naturally empowered, not having to worry about it. And that's why I love Wilton Manors.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So tell me a little bit. I know that you have a background in theater, right? And you also did catering for a while. And tell us a little bit about that work that you've published. You're a playwright, you're produced. Tell us about that. Also choreography.
Jack of all trades. So I was a theater major, and in moving to Atlanta, I started my career in theater there. First as a performer, but I didn't much care for performing, just as a personal thing. I don't like putting on makeup. I don't like standing under hot lights, and so I quickly turned into a director. As a matter of fact, one of the jobs that I had, I worked regionally, Washington, D.C., and even down here at a theater at that time called Caldwell Playhouse. It was in Boca Raton. I believe it's where the Wick Theater is right now. And a play that I directed there won the second annual Best Play Award for the Carbonells. That was the very beginning of the Carbonell Awards. So I'm really proud of the theater work that I've done, but I finally decided to stay in Atlanta and make a living, and we opened a a cabaret, a theater called Showcase Cabaret, where we did original musicals and musical reviews, all original. As a matter of fact, at that time, you could run a show until it didn't have an audience. And so 5 of the top longest running shows in Atlanta are shows that I produced and or directed and or wrote. Yeah, well, the longest running one was called Big Hair, and it was a spoof of the 60s and had tons of wigs and tons of costume changes, and that ran for nearly 400 performances. I also did Slammer Girls, which I tried to bring here to Wilton Manors. It didn't quite work out. Slammer Girls is a musical, an original musical based on all those B-rate female prison movies. And I was going to do it in drag here in Wilton Manors, but I didn't quite have the cast for it, and so it'll happen someday. After a few rounds of, I'm not sure I love the theater even though I'm making a lot of money in it, I decided to change careers, and I ended up in another theatrical career, which was special events. And so for a couple of decades or more, I ran a special events company in Atlanta, and we just made people happy all the time. Magic. Retired from that, and then Archie and I moved here to Wilton Manors.
And so what was the draw, though? You must have heard about it. You were living in Atlanta, and I guess word of mouth or people promoting it, or you're seeing stuff on social media. What drew you to specifically this area?
Archie and I did quite a bit of traveling the last 20 years or so that we were in Atlanta. Archie and I did quite a bit of traveling the last 20 years or so that we were in Atlanta, and in the special events industry, once that third weekend rolls around in December, it's dead. I mean, and so we would take 2 weeks every year and go to San Juan, Puerto Rico. And we noticed that the crowd was changing. It was getting straighter. And we asked someone that we trust, where are all these people going? And they said, Wilton Manors. And we had never heard of it, but that was the moment that Wilton Manors became our winter destination for around, I think, 8 years. We knew after 3 or 4 years that we wanted to live here, but we couldn't afford to move down quite then. And that's how we found out about Wilton Manors. Loved it.
Wonderful. And so, you've said you've traveled a lot, and so I'm sure you've been to other places where there is a gay enclave or gay community to some degree. How does Wilton Manors compare? Was it unique, or is it similar to other places? I know P-Town is also another famous gay community, big community there.
That's a great question. I've been with Archie to quite a few gay ghettos, some of them really delightful. Provincetown, when we were going to Provincetown, was a little bit different. Right now, it's a little more commercial. It's a little less accessible to the mainstream queer community. But it's a wonderful place. It's just not Wilton Manors. Wilton Manors is unique. It has all of these amenities, and it is quite safe here. There's a feeling of being part of a community that shelters you. I've never experienced that in any other gay neighborhoods. We were in, Greenwich Village during its heyday. Wonderful place to be if you're gay. Of course, now it's not anything like that. We even helped gentrify Midtown Atlanta. When we moved into Midtown Atlanta, it was primarily gay, and very open. Of course, then it gentrified and it's no longer a gay neighborhood. And this happens a lot. I think really the only two gay enclaves left in the United States that are truly gay identified are Provincetown and Wilton Manors. I can't think of another one. San Francisco, not anymore.
Yeah, and so that is an excellent point, and that's one of the reasons why I'm documenting these stories, and we talked about that before, is what do you see for the future of Wilton Manors? Are we headed down the same track, and is that just a natural evolution of gay communities, and then they move on somewhere else? And what's your take on that?
We're at a crossroads. We're at a point where if we just follow the current trajectory, it'll turn out like our neighborhood in Atlanta, Georgia, Midtown Atlanta. When we first moved in, there were artists and teachers and creative people all around. By the time we gentrified it and moved out, it was doctors, attorneys, financial brokers. I mean, it was really a complete shift in the demographic of the neighborhood. So what we're seeing now in Wilton Manors is the beginning of that kind of demographic shift. It's a mature beginning. It's not the very beginning. We've seen some real signs. The cost of real estate is prohibitive. The taxes to buy new are prohibitive. We bought 6 years ago, and it's difficult to justify the taxes that we pay. But if we had to buy our home today, we wouldn't. We simply wouldn't. And I think we're the kind of people that help make Wilton Manors unique. So there are some wonderful people moving into the hood, and we need to make sure that our leadership makes the right decisions now. And that includes dense housing. We have to have housing density. We have to have a walkable city. And we have to have a safe city, continued safe city.
You make so many great points, and it's spot on. And so, changing gears a bit, we were just talking about Wilton Manors. In all my interviews, I always ask people this question. It's kind of corny. I hope you don't mind. Describe Wilton Manors in 3 words.
I can only think gay. But that really short sells it. It's I would say unique, gay, interesting, or maybe even fascinating.
Very cool. So let's get a little more personal. I know you're an Aries, fiery Aries, right? And but what is your animal spirit?
I love you, but I really hate this question.
Okay, moving right along. So do you have a personal mantra or anthem? You've traveled around the world and you've seen a lot of things going on, and so what would that be? What sort of personal mantra or anthem do you use or hold?
I don't know if this is an anthem, but I try to ask myself the question before all major actions and decisions. Will I be able to go to sleep tonight and feel good about this? That's pretty much my litmus test for living.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it sort of mirrors that post that I saw you post on social media, which was really inspiring, about materialism isn't everything and how it's important to have deeper connections with people. I was really touched by that. And do you want to expand on that, or does that pretty much cover it?
part of my focus on connection now is due to, I believe, one of the nicer things about getting older. Most people, I think, when they get older, tend to mellow just a little bit and maybe start thinking about the things that are truly meaningful. I love our home. I love swimming in our pool. I love throwing nice parties. But really, I love our home best when I'm with Archie, my husband, and when we're with friends. I love our pool best when we're sharing it with friends. I love entertaining because of the friends and because of the connections that are made. Getting old and gay can be very lonely. And it can be lonely whether you're a loner or maybe you have tons of people that you know in a social circle. I worry about Wilton Manors because it's such a party city. Sometimes those connections don't feel like they're nurtured and supported, but I consciously try to do that.
Wow, that's very well said, and I agree with you that those relationships and connections to people are what really matters ultimately. If I could loop back real quick to theater. So here in Wilton Manors, we have quite a few theaters. We have Plays of Wilton, Island City, Empire Stage. What's your take on the theater? I mean, it's kind of unique that we have a little arts district. We also have lots of art galleries and actual artists living, working in those galleries and selling their art. What's your take on the arts here?
I can't think of too many things that are more important than the arts scene here. In particular, theater, for me, because my background is in theater. If it weren't for Ronnie Larson and Plays of Wilton, although Plays of Wilton is a newer phenomenon with him, but the Foundry and Ronnie's work, I don't think we'd live here. Archie and I love over-the-top, fun stuff. We also like the really serious stuff, and Ronnie has a knack for doing that, and I'll never forget the first time we saw Truck Stop Sally. It was so outrageous, and afterwards Archie and I said, at the same time almost, we have to live here. So one of the things that I did for the last 20 years of my career in the special events industry in Atlanta, I was a teacher of branding. I taught owners of companies how to brand properly. And I think Wilton Manors has to include the theater in their branding. It's just so important. People don't really fully appreciate how much of a money generator theater can be. And so I not only love the theater here just because we've got 3 great different theaters, all with different personalities, all with very gay mentalities. I love it for that, but I also love it because I'm a business person and I look at what makes good business, and the theater in Wilton Manors makes good business for Wilton Manors.
Yeah, and I think we have a new theater as well coming up. It's the Box. Is it called the Gray Black? I'll have to look at it. I think it's either Gray Box or Black Box. It took over that. I think it was a movie theater at one time. It's near Storks. Any thoughts? Do you know anything about it? Okay. Now, do we want to talk about politics at all? I mean, as the LGBT community now is really there's no other way to say it, being targeted, many of the gains that we made seem to be unraveling. Any thoughts on that? I know that we should, not allow them to frighten us. I mean, we've not our first time at the rodeo, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm angry. I spent too much of my life, and Archie spent too much of his life fighting for these rights that we have, being uncomfortable in situations where we were standing up for what we knew we deserved. And we finally found some comfort and some safety. And now these yahoos are trying to take it away from us. I'm angry. And I think we need to get in touch with our anger. I'm not saying go burn a building down. I'm saying talk to your straight ally friends. They are key to this. If they start standing back and closing off their voices to this movement that's happening, this strange anti-gay movement, we're lost. We need them. And now I think is the time to reach out to our straight friends.
Why aren't you in politics? I would vote for you tomorrow. You really have such a vision, and the way you phrase things and really cut to the chase. I really appreciate that. And you're right, we can't be frightened, and we do need our allies very much, especially now. So, in closing, any pearls of wisdom that you have for us?
Find a person that you enjoy having lunch with over and over and stick with them. Make sure they're a good friend if you're going to forge a life together. When you're being authentic, don't forget to be practical. It's important to be true to yourself, and it's also important to remember there are lots of truths around you in the world.
Patrick, thank you so much. I'm really so honored to have the chance to meet with you, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And everything you said really just touches my heart and resonates with me, and I'm sure many of the people listening will feel the same way. And we really need to be there for each other now more than ever, and not take things for granted, because, and so you're absolutely right. We need to reach out to our allies and to be kind to one another too here in the community, And so with that, I'm going to say thank you so much. And I really appreciate it. I wish you the best. Thank you. And hey, I look forward to one of those invites at your fabulous place that's recently been renovated, right? So I'm looking forward to that. Wonderful. Thank you, Patrick, so much. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Likewise. Bye-bye.